Today, I'm turning a moped into a child doll. I love the idea of recycling or repurposing things. Place the center binding in a vertical position, then separate two equal sections on either side for arms. The first thing we need to do is cover the center binding material. Using a glue gun, secure some strands to cover the center binding. You can fashion a waistline by crossing some strands across the front and tying the back. Next, we need to cover up the body portion of the dress by gluing strands toward the center and upwards towards the back. Glue one strand at a time. There are many ways you can cover the bodies or the top portion of the dress. Check out my video, Victorian Mop Doll, to see another method of handling the body's portion of the dress. You might even invent your own method. I'm doing it this way so that I can pull the strands around the arm portions to create a bit of a shoulder. To finish the upper portion of the dress, I cross the strands in the back. Glue any remaining strands down the center back so you don't have any loose ends sticking out. For the arms, I plan to fashion a braid in the center of the arm. I first separate an even amount of strands all the way around the perimeter, holding 6 center strands, 2 in each lock. Braid the center core of the arm. You'll find out shortly why I chose to braid it. Secure the braid with a rubber band. Then gather the remaining strands to encapsulate the braid. Use another rubber band to secure the upper arm. Now we're going to fashion a puff sleeve by gently pulling on each of the strands around the outside of the arm. Now for the lower sleeve. Gather all the strands with the braid still in the center. Temporarily hold the cuff with another rubber band. We're going to replace the rubber bands with some string, and then we will remove the rubber bands. Pull the braid to be revealed on the outer side of the sleeve without removing it from the cuff where it's band. The braid will serve as a decorative element. Glue everything in place. Obviously, you will repeat this process for each arm, but I'm only showing you how to do the one arm. I use a wooden dowel as a glue stick to save my fingers. My glue gun runs very hot, and I don't like to get burned. If you should burn yourself, apply an ice cube intermittently until it melts. Depending on the severity of your burn, it might take 2 ice cubes. Give short breaks between applying the ice and then remove it, and applying the ice and remove it. When the sleeve is done, remove all the remaining rubber bands. Trim the cuff and then fray the ends. You can try to comb them out or just separate them with your fingernails. Now we shall focus on the skirt. Before we begin, comb the strands straight with your fingers. With each mop doll I have done, I try something a little different. This time I pulled 2 strands a bit of a distance from each other and tied them in a square knot. I created a row of knots, trying to make them an equal distance from the waist. I then hold the doll upright and shake down the strands to check how it hangs. This is when I realized I needed to stabilize my loops, so I repositioned them, making sure the strands underneath are combed down straight. Then I glue the knots in place so my design holds. I decided to make a second row of knots that would fall between the knots of the previous row. I chose 2 long strands from underneath each loop and tied a knot, repeating this process all the way across. This creates a pattern that almost resembles a basketball net. When I was a child, I used to make dolls out of many things. I can remember folding my bed sheet into a doll, and I would perform puppet skits for my two sisters when we were sent to bed while it was still daylight out. Once again, finger comb the underneath strands before gluing each knot in place. To finish the skirt, separate each of the strands, which makes a more delicate edge to the skirt that almost looks like ruffles or lace. This may take a while to do, but I found it a very relaxing activity. By separating each strand, I found that all of the ends blend together very nicely, even though they were of varying lengths. Somehow, the different lengths don't show once they're all shredded. I added ribbon roses on each knot for extra embellishment. For the final touches of the dress, ribbon and lace. I usually play with it first to see if I'm going to like it before deciding where or how to add the trims. Ribbon is applied flat. When adding lace ruffles to the cuff, be sure to pleat it or gather it so that it flares out naturally the way a cuff should look. My aim for this dress was to make it look fancy. What girl doesn't like fancy dresses? When I was a young girl, I could only dream of having fancy dresses because I never did. This doll that I am creating is a doll of my childhood self as I would have liked it to be. I chose violet trims because that's my favorite color. I love all things feminine, so I had to have ribbons and lace. I think it's a sad thing when young girls frown upon girlish things, as if being a girly girl is a bad thing when it's not. I love being a woman, and I love femininity, so this doll reflects who I am. This doll is made out of a mop head, which we all know. As a mop, it would become a smelly, old, nasty rag. I'm taking something that would be ugly and turning it into something beautiful. Sometimes our life may come from a rough background, an abusive childhood, hurtful memories, and broken relationships. But we don't have to remain that way. We have the choice to make something better of ourselves. That is what this doll represents to me. I don't live in the past. I have a wonderful life, and I feel very blessed. I am rich in love, joy, peace, and happiness. I have a wonderful family, so very different than the family I grew up in. My family is built on love and established on biblical principles. What a difference that can make in a life. I glued the sleeves in such a way to make puff sleeves. Just one more of those feminine touches that I love. I hand painted my 4-year-old childhood self on the head form. I got the picture from a photo that was taken of us when we were really young, and I had a very serious face in the picture. I did a sketch of it first in pencil, and then I painted it on the head form. She has a very serious face, a somber face, full of questions, wanting to understand why I was that child who always asked why. Why does it work that way? Why did that happen? I was always asking questions. I remember this little saying, there was a girl with a curl in the middle of her forehead. When she was good, she was very good. But when she was bad, she was horrid. I always tried to be a good girl, but my stepmother always saw me as bad. Even my good work, she interpreted them as bad. She never understood me. She didn't even try. Another favorite of mine is long hair and curls. No, my hair's not naturally curly. My brother got all the curls, but I tried many ways to curl my hair over the years. When I was very young, my sisters and I were not allowed to grow our hair long. We were told we could not take care of it. So I tried very hard to prove that I could and do take care of my hair. In fact, I used to comb and style my sister's hair too. Oh, I hated those short boy cuts our stepmother would give us with crooked bangs. She never could cut straight. Or was that done on purpose? I didn't want to look like a boy, so I would protest every time it was hair cutting time. Finally, one day, my father came to my rescue when I was in the 4th grade, saying, "Oh, let her grow her hair out." I have loved long hair ever since. So this doll shall have long curly hair as I wished my hair was as a child. You know, even at age 60, my hair is still long, longer than it's ever been. I refuse to accept the adage that older women should have short hair. I essentially grew up without a mother, certainly without a mother's love. So when I became a mother, I was determined to become the mother to my children that I never had. And I loved being a mother. If you want to know how to curl the yarn for hair, see my other Mop Doll video, Victorian Mop Doll. In that video, I show you how I curl the hair. This pretty little lady will stay in my guest bedroom, which is in the same color, lavender. She shall have a pretty room with a vintage style. There's a little girl who visits my home. She calls that room the princess room because she thinks it's special. She even told her mommy she wished she were my daughter. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to keep up with all my creations. Thanks for watching.